Hey, welcome back to A Faster Me. This video is brought to you by Building Block Construction and Sophisticated and Swanky. This is going to be CBR number 5, the women's P123 crit. And this is the camera view from Marlena Bemis. So as you can see, the women are off to a good start here. It's kind of slow. This race started off like pretty chill at the beginning, and I was just there watching it. So this is my first time watching the video, so I don't really know what's going to happen during this race. Obviously, I know the finish of it because I was at the races, but other than that, yeah, this is our first time watching it. Ellen's here with me, and we'll try to just ad-lib and navigate what we see.
There I see Felicia and Morgan are off the front, kind of setting the pace. Morgan raced the 3-4-5 race earlier in the day and did a lot of work there, so she was coming into a second race and, you know, trying to do some work, but a little bit differently in this field.
Yeah, and don't worry, ladies, I'm not going to beat you guys up too much about the cornering or lack of cornering. But yeah, no, Morgan's been doing well this year, and she likes to do a lot of work on the front, you know, and it's good to race your bike that way. You kind of take all the what's it called? Like, you kind of take all the, like, I don't know, not suspense is not the right word, but all the doubt out of it, and you just dictate the race yourself instead of waiting for others to do things. So you can see her way up there to the left. Yeah, she's not afraid to put in her own efforts, and she's very strong and having a good year. So I think Marlena did a very good job this weekend, also racing. Just a good job sitting at the front and kind of, not always at the front, but just staying tucked in a little bit better, and you know, the results show as well. This is a very competitive race, very good field. You know, it's not maybe as what's it called, as may not be filled with all the stars, you know, all the locals legends that we have in the area, but I think a lot of the young ladies in the race, they've been doing really well, and there's a lot more a lot of people are a lot stronger, basically, a lot better racing tactics, stuff like that. So yeah, I think with Colleen, you got Paige up there, Morgan's been doing really well, India's having a good year as well. All of these girls have won races this year, so yeah, it's a pretty competitive field. So yeah, like normal, we'll start it off too with just like a course preview. You can see the map in the upper left-hand side there, and this is on the Dominguez side of CBR, and we're going clockwise. And you know, like I said in my video, the camera doesn't do it justice, but the women are racing later in the day, and the wind is very strong. So here's like the only part that's tailwind, and this is kind of going into the fastest segment on the course. But once they make the right-hand turn at turn 2 down there, it's definitely like a strong headwind. You know, I wish there was a flag or something that we can look at that can reference the wind, but definitely a strong headwind once you turn right here. And then from this point on, all the way through the finish line, there's a strong, like, either head or crosswind the rest of the way. And as
You can see on the front that Feline is in the green jersey, and does a lot of work this race. In a lot of races, she works hard, but she's on the front for, I would say, the majority of the laps, just kind of setting a pretty good pace for the race.
Yeah, not only setting a good pace for the sprint jersey, you know, the more times you cross the finish line first, there's a lot of sprint points and stuff like that up for grabs. So she's definitely securing her position in the sprint jersey there. So yeah, so it makes sense that she's going to be crossing the finish line as often as possible to get all those points. So you got Anastasia right here in front of Marlena, and Felicia right there to her left. But again, just being tucked in well, kind of being protected from this wind, because again, this little uphill here and the headwind, you can see Anastasia's ponytail kind of blowing in the wind. The trees are pretty scarce, and even the trees on the right-hand side, they're pretty thick, so you don't get to see the wind blowing them around that much. But yeah, just trust me, it was a pretty solid head. It was pretty windy. It was just pretty solid wind this day, so it made the racing a little bit tough.
And I think Marlena being on the right side here is a little bit more protected from the wind. So I did the race earlier in the day. Unfortunately, we didn't get that on video. We couldn't find the GoPro as the day began. So, um, but definitely where you are in position to the wind makes a big difference.
Yeah, so you can see the flag right there on top of that Samsung building, and you can see how stiff those flags are. That's a pretty strong wind there. But as you can tell, and as Ellen pointed out, Marlene is definitely on the correct side, being protected by the wind, and she was able to move up about a good 4 or 5 spots there. And that's Paige right there in front of us. Paige is really strong. I believe she's with the what are they called now? Austin Outlaws? Yeah, Austin Outlaws. I think formerly Austin Aviators. But yeah, Paige is super strong and experienced, and can hear some of her conversation when we were out on course. So yeah, it's just definitely good instruction and willing to work with people trying to establish the break and just work together and get off the front a little bit here and there.
We met her just right before the race, and I think this is her first local for us race. So I'm not sure if I heard she just moved to the area, but nice to meet a new person, and she definitely, I think, had really good energy.
And there's Alexa making an appearance on video right here with the Blue Canyon. She's also on our squad as well. Alexa always races well. Doesn't always have the finish that she wants maybe, but she races well, races smart, very experienced and comfortable in the peloton, very comfortable on a bike. So, it's just good to see her out there. Like, she's pretty consistent and reliable.
And there, if you noticed in the corner, Marlena had a little gap, and she was able to kind of make up a few positions just on the inside, and that's a perfect way, I think. Anthony, you were just talking about it in your race. It's a really good place to make up positions in the corners.
Yeah, either going into the corner or coming out of the corner. Not usually like at the apex of a corner or once everybody's initiated their turn in, but usually building up to it, like right before while everyone breaks. You can usually take 1 extra second to make a pass or so, or sometimes you can just set up a person that you want to overtake and use your momentum and then accelerate coming out of it. So I think there's a preem lap here, and I want to say Anastasia gets it here. She gets a free entry into the Hunt Parkway crit, out sprinting Feline there on the left. So there they go for that little sprint. I think Anastasia just gets her at the line.
And that was another good job, I think, of Marlena kind of anticipating that sprint, moving up, and now she's in great position here, third, fourth wheel.
Yeah, you see Paige goes and attacks right after, which is smart. She touches her hip, trying to tell Feline to work with her and get on her hip, and they can get away. And Marlena does a great job of keeping her momentum, coming out about 5th place, and just kind of covering this move, not letting it get off the front. Or, if possible, she can get in the move. That's something we wouldn't mind. We'd always like to see Marlena in a break. She's definitely strong enough to stay away with one of the other or a couple of the other strong women in the race.
It's so interesting to see what happens on the backside of the course, because you see just things from one spot and one angle, and it appeared that Paige was completely off the front by herself from where we were watching, but just seeing that Marlena connects and actually comes and takes a pull, had no idea that happened.
Yeah. Marlena had told me that she may have done like a little bit of work at the beginning of the race, but this is good actually. She covered the move. She saw Feline was fading a little bit, so she ran up to Paige's wheel and went by, and hopefully Paige is still on her wheel here. So Feline's back out, obviously, as you can see. But yeah, it was a good job of covering moves and then just keeping her momentum and going by. And this would be a great breakaway. These 3 women are definitely strong enough to stay away if they work together and rotate, but we can't see behind, so I'm guessing they probably do not have a gap, and that's correct, they don't. So I'm not sure the young lady from PRT, I don't have the list in front of me, but yeah, she showed some strong moves during this race also, and I believe she attacks later in the race trying to go solo as well.
These are the times where you wish you had a GoPro on the back to see what's happening.
Yeah.
except that it gets a little hard to watch sometimes.
Not only that, I gotta process double the film. If I gotta process 2 videos if there's a rear view camera, and as you guys can see, we're a little backed up and on getting races out, and it takes a lot of time. I'm not complaining. This is something I enjoy doing, obviously, but yeah, it does take a lot of time to process and get the videos out. And I believe that's RHN there in the 2024 kit. Both the Chin sisters, Ari and Anya, have been racing very good lately. They've both been showing that they can sprint pretty well. I think they've been taking turns kind of alternating races on who gets a podium, but I want to say starting off in maybe Tour de Marietta, they've probably been on the podium maybe 3 or 4 times now. It's a good job by Marlena again. She kind of faded a little bit back there, a couple positions on the downhill, maybe just recovering from those couple efforts and then making up some spots, getting back up, near the front again here. It's definitely starting to stretch out again. I don't know if this is another preem lap or just someone making a move.
There was a number of times that they did back-to-back preem laps, which just makes it so hard. And I think one time they even announced it after the peloton had gone by, so yeah. Only a few people probably could have even heard it.
Yeah, I believe another time too they gave a preem when the ladies didn't know there was a preem. They didn't know there was a preem lap, and then I think they announced it right as they were coming up to the line. All right, so there's Morgan fading a little bit. She's been at the front doing a little bit of work, and the effort is hard. So Felicia kind of takes over and tries to close this gap here, and then Marlena just jumps on her wheel. You can definitely see they're putting in a good effort. They're over 26 miles per hour up this false flat, and I want to say last lap they were only at about 21 miles per hour. So definitely a 5 mile per hour increase. Alicia did a good job of coming through that turn and keeping her pedal just nice and soft. Like, you don't have to hard pedal through turns, especially if there's any risk at all of clipping the pedal. You can soft pedal through it a little bit, make it a little safer, but it definitely saves your legs a little bit and keeps your momentum. So yeah, that turn is very fast there. They're at about 28 miles per hour through turn 2. But as you can see, the road is really wide. If you can tell by the map up there, it's decreasing in radius. But because the road is so wide, like, you really can't tell that it's a decreasing radius turn. And it never really races that way. For the most part, it races as just a normal, I wouldn't even say 90-degree turn. It looks like it's more open than that just because the road is so wide. There's Anastasia going up to the front, kind of just setting a little tempo up there, setting the pace. She likes to be at the front of races as well. Probably could have cut a little distance there by taking that corner a little better, like just picking a better apex. This little section here taxes your legs pretty good too, with the headwind as well. So you got a headwind, and the uphill gets up to about just under 4%, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, after you do 50 minutes of it, yeah, your legs get a little heavy coming up that hill, especially in the last like 2 laps. It's actually a pretty difficult finish this way. With that, you got like, I don't know, you got like 3/4 of a mile or so of uphill finish there. So Marlena got a little bit of a late jump on that, but she did a good job of closing the gap when Camilla just kind of comes over the top there. And I want to say they're going for a preem here, but it's a good job of just staying attached, especially because again, these are strong women up front here, and there goes Paige countering off of the preem. And this is why it's a good job of Marlena going with that, even though she wasn't going with the preem, just in case something gets off the front here.
I think that just shows Paige's experience of every attack has come right after a preem, and look at the gap that she's able to get on the field just by, putting that effort when everyone wants to kind of sit up and relax just a little bit after doing a hard effort.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely shows her experience, and honestly, it just takes like maybe one other strong rider to go with her, and they have a good chance of staying away. I guess I don't know. Fortunately or unfortunately, no one kind of wanted to play with her because she's definitely dangerous. And if anybody would have just went with her, like a Feline would have went with her, Camilla, Marlena, any of the strong girls that like to break away or like to ride in breakaways, I think they probably would have gotten away pretty good.
I think almost every race um, had a breakaway except for the race I was in earlier in the day, the women's 3-4-5. But yeah, I think a breakaway stuck on almost every race.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think your race and the Cat 4 race maybe was the only two races with no breakaway. I think every other race, or maybe the 4-5, I can't remember, but it's really only two races and everything else was a breakaway. Yeah,
Well,
so
and this race.
right, but yeah, so anytime you have strong winds, especially crosswinds, and then you have this little uphill, it definitely creates a change in speed and it creates a harder effort. So it is definitely easier for people to break away and stay away, and it's harder to cover the brakes when you have such a hard crosswind. So as you can see, Marlena put in almost 700 watts to get her speed up, and then she was well above 300 for a while, and she's still there. This is the type of effort it takes when you're in a hard crosswind or slightly uphill to run somebody down. And you have to be up for it, and you need some cooperation, which obviously they're getting it now. Feline kind of started off the charge. Then when she pulled off, Marlena took it, and the PRT rider came up very strong as well. It wasn't really well coordinated, but at least it's everybody has the motivation to chase it down. It's a pretty fast turn there at 31 miles per hour. Yeah, it's a good job. I'm always critical of lines when you have clear road in front of you, but overall they kept good speed, so I'm not gonna keep beating a dead horse every race talking about race lines. Even though I'm talking about race lines right now.
Well, I will say the race lines definitely improved from the season opener that we were in with a crash. So Marlena has a upcoming, work travel trip, so she was happy to go unscathed this time.
Yeah, and honestly, we all missed this race. This was the season opener, basically. We all kind of missed that race. I just didn't race it because they had crashed, and I didn't know if people needed to go to the hospital or not, and my race was directly after their race. So, yeah, it was good, because this is probably my favorite side of CBR. I'm sorry, my favorite direction, everything of CBR is probably this course. Maybe clockwise on the Carson side as well. But yeah, so it was good that we did this race twice this year and got a chance to, we all got a chance to participate in it. So yeah, Paige has been away for 2 laps now. This is about the same spot Feline pulled to last time. You see Colleen actually goes and tries to bridge to it, which again, Colleen's a sprinter, so she definitely doesn't want to pull the peloton up. She's gonna do what she did and bridge to it. She doesn't want to bring everyone up. And then Georgetta, and I don't know who else that was, that's gonna, carry the flag from that point on.
Yeah, and watching it in, say real time, Colleen went by and definitely wanted to have the brake stick with her and Paige, but I don't know if, Paige was gassed from the effort and wanted to recover a little, or if, that if she just went by her a little too fast because they didn't connect, and then that strong charge kind of, I think they're going to be back together on the next lap, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I think it's just motivation, honestly, because like you said, Paige doesn't race out here all the time. So honestly, that plays into her advantage a little bit, because it looks like, they're motivated to chase her, but they didn't have that great sense of urgency, or at least it wasn't coordinated. It was just mainly Feline and Marlena doing the most of the effort there. But you see, when Colleen went, everyone knows who Colleen is. She wins every sprint finish here, basically, for the most part. So once Colleen went, you see the urgency in the entire peloton went after her, because they obviously know who she is and know that they can't let her get away. So I think that, like I said, that played a little bit into Paige's advantage of everyone not being so familiar with her. And now Colleen kept going, and Paige came back to the group here, but she's been off the front for a couple laps already, so she probably needs to recover a little bit. And Colleen, I haven't seen her win in a breakaway yet, but it's not like she's not capable of it. Anyone that wins races and with the frequency that she does, they're definitely multi-talented, and they're not just so, for lack of a better term, a one-trick pony.
You can just tell the effort that these women are putting in by the upper body movements. When people's upper body is kind of going side to side, they're working hard.
Yeah, not to mention Marlena was at 300 to about 370 watts, through that effort. So, yeah, it's definitely a pretty hard effort. And you can see now, this is why another great move by PRT. Everyone's tired, so she's going to attack. And that was like perfect timing for her. Probably a little too far off the right, so she didn't get any type of slingshot benefit. But yeah, definitely a great thing to not let people rest and just hit them again.
Glad to be watching on the couch instead of out here suffering at this moment.
Georgetta gives Alexa a little hand there. Alexa looks like she was dying. So Georgetta's like, yeah, come on, girl, you can do it. So, got a little bit of a drift there through the turn, but sometimes that happens. It's kind of hard sometimes when you're going 30 plus to commit to, trusting your tires and committing to them sticking. So there's Colleen there, so it's all back together, and the PRT riders there as well. So yeah, you can see the body language now. Everybody's like, whoo.
Yeah, it went from 28 to 17
Yeah.
real quick.
And no matter what, when it slows down, someone else is going to go. So I can't see who it was up there, but someone else, I think, no, it's not Camilla. I don't know who that is. I see a blue jersey. Someone else went off the front up there. I think that's Anastasia, like fifth wheel, so it's not one of our girls either. It might be India that took off. So maybe India countered right here. I think I saw a blue jersey up there. So yeah, 16 miles per hour. This is the slowest I've seen it. So obviously everybody's a little tired and need a little recovery. And there goes Morgan giving the dig. I think this was a preem lap also. Because if I'm not mistaken, I remember Morgan winning or taking one of the preems. So there's Camilla making an appearance to the left right there, running the GoPro. Hopefully she posts the video as well. We can maybe see it from her perspective. Yeah, so there's a big difference coming through. You can tell by the body language the effort is high, but the speed is low, just because those legs are tired now. We've had about 3-4 laps of some pretty good attacks and just trying to run down the brake, and now the speed's a little lower, even though the effort is high. All right, so we talked about this before, and I said I'm not going to beat a dead horse on lines. But if you see the PRT rider right there drifted to the right just a little bit, just be mindful when you guys do that. Like, if you're not first or last, that you're creating a different angle to the peloton. So the rest of the group's wide coming across, and when you go inside like that, you're creating more of a T-bone angle. So yeah, just be mindful of that. You have to understand, like, race lines and apexes and all that kind of stuff just to keep it safe, especially in a high-speed corner like that. You guys are at about 31 miles per hour, and you pretty much want to stay in line with the rest of the group and go at the same angle that they're going at. And there's the other Morgan right there in front from Lagrange, Morgan James. Morgan's been having a good year as well. You can tell she's definitely been working hard and has some bigger goals in front of her. But yeah, having a good year so far, and is definitely a threat on all of these races now. So we have a law firm right there to the left, Morgan and Morgan. Okay, maybe I'm not that funny, but made me laugh. So again, look at the flags over there on top of the Samsung building. Yeah, I mean, they're pretty much straight out. So even though the camera doesn't do it justice, but yeah, it's definitely a windy day, and you can see how hard it is then if you're out solo. Like Paige was out there for about 2-3 laps. You can see that's a very hard effort with this type of wind. I'm not sure who the young lady is there in the blue. I don't believe I've seen that kit, the one to the left, the dark blue with the white stripes. I don't think I've seen that kit out here, so probably have to look up her name later just to see who she is. Yeah, definitely have the speed back up again. Especially on this section, there's a little uphill here. If you're over 30 miles per hour on this uphill, they're definitely on the gas. Marlena noticed some people getting detached there a little bit and kind of went around. She was kind of hanging out in the back a little bit too long there, but did a good job of noticing once they started losing contact that she has to get up there. You definitely don't want the peloton to split on you. Everyone's afraid of that turn there, turn 3, because there used to be a pothole. The pothole's filled in with either dirt or concrete or something. It's a little off color, but there's also 2 dips there for like the drainage system, and you don't want to really be at a steep angle going through there, but it really isn't that bad. It's a little bit of a bump. You just want to kind of soft pedal when you go through there if you're going to pedal. And if not, just pause your pedal for a second, and it's not that bad. You can still lean your bike over though, going through there. If you watch my race later or at any time, like we go through there kind of like normal. We don't pay attention to those bumps or anything. It's not something that's going to just make you crash. And we go through there pretty much like 3, 4, 5 deep. So there's Anya there. Anya's having a great race as well. She's always been a great racer. She's still young. I was going to say she was young before, but she's still young. But yeah, now she's obviously getting older and getting more mature. So, her muscle maturity is also starting to come in. So now she has a lot more power than when she did a few years ago. But she's always been a great racer, always been able to follow wheels, definitely super smart as well. And that's something that's not too many people get to do. But when you start racing at a really young age, you end up getting like a racing IQ kind of just built into you at a young age, and you're a smart racer. You're gonna it's almost inevitable. You have no choice other than to learn and be more efficient and smarter than a lot of the people that are older and stronger. Yeah, I don't think I've ever, watched one of our races or broken down a race where, like, Anya's doing something she shouldn't be doing. She's pretty much always in a good spot, always, like, it doesn't matter what the result is. It's just, like, is she racing smart for her ability? And the answer is almost always yes.
Must be nice.
Exactly. I wish I could do it as well. I can tell you how to do it, but I might not be able to do it myself.
Tell myself what to do, and I still don't do it.
Yeah, so Marlena may be, she's just setting a little tempo. She's not actually going that hard, to be honest with you. And you can tell she's hugging the right side here because she doesn't really want to be there. So it's down to 15 miles per hour, and obviously no one else wants to pull either. And this headwind, like I said, is really strong. So if anyone goes around her, they're going to have to pull out into the wind. So she's doing a great job of protecting herself there and just kind of shutting down the watts, basically just saying, hey, I'm not going to pull. So if you want to sit behind me at, group ride pace, that's fine. I don't know if that's another preem because I think I see another sprint finish up there. I think that's Anastasia going for another preem.
I know it's unfortunate that when we're commentating, we can't hear what's being announced. I know as I was listening to your video earlier, I was like, there's 2 laps left. They just said it. But of course you can't hear that when you're commentating.
Right,
so,
not at all.
So you all watching may be able to say like, yeah, we heard that there was this and this for the free, but commentating, it's just silent.
Yeah, we can't hear anything. We can't hear the bike noises. We can't hear what any of the girls are saying. None of that stuff. And right now I have the screen enlarged, but normally the screen's kind of small too when we're doing the voiceover. But yeah, definitely can't hear anything, and makes sense. There'd be feedback and all that kind of stuff if the sound was on. There's Sherry again. This is her 3rd race of the day. She raced the combined 60 plus, 35 plus earlier in the day. She raced the 50 plus with me. It was fun, being out there with her. She's, again, another smart racer. Yeah, I never see her do anything wrong, nothing dangerous. She's always safe, always efficient. And then, of course, this is the 3rd race of the day for her. So definitely a long day because I think her first race is like the 2nd race of the day. Then the race with me, we're kind of like mid-morning, 10:25 or so. And then this race is not until like, I don't know, 2:30 or something.
That seems pretty miserable for me, to try to get your nutrition right and resting and warming up and cooling down. And the anxiety, at least for me, I know it may be different when you've done this for more years, but that would be the hardest part of kind of having so many races. But the fitness, I think, would be incredible just to, have multiple races in the day and just a day of fitness.
Yeah, and I'm sure it's fun, This is the race probably that she really gets to play in, mixed in with the men. It's not I hope it doesn't sound this way. It's not a sexist thing or anything, but our fields are a lot bigger. And unless you're super elite, there's always going to be like a bunch of guys stronger. No different for me. We have 70 guys in a race. There's going to be a ton of guys that are like really strong. Ex-pros, ex-national champions, current national champions, all that kind of stuff. So those races are more of a survival type race, but they're safe, they're big. It gets you used to being in like a huge field, gets you used to, practicing your positioning, all that kind of stuff, because it gets magnified in those kind of fields. And then by the time she's here, she's raced twice already. She knows how the course is racing. She knows what to look out for, what the layout is like, where the wind's at, all that kind of stuff. So, just from my assumption, I would think she probably enjoys this race, just gets to have fun out here. I think here Marlena could be tucked in a little bit better to the left, but obviously no one's going to just give up their spot. So, she's kind of eating a little bit of wind here, but
at least it's on the side that has the little bit of protection. Oh, maybe not.
No, this side's into the wind because the wind's coming from if you see all the flag over there, the wind's coming from the right side a little bit. Right headwind on this side. The buildings do add a little bit of protection, but it's just kind of funneled like straight into a headwind here. Yeah, everybody's a little gassed right now, and the pace is slow, so I'm pretty sure somebody's going to, attack in a second. Yeah, it looks like we're about, well, maybe I was jumping the gun a little bit, but we probably got about 8 laps to go now. I think on average, and I shouldn't really say on average, but I think they're just about 2 minutes a lap, a little bit over sometimes. I don't know if the women were ever under 2 minutes a lap, but definitely another preem here. You can see everyone sprinting.
I do know that they announced that I think from the first lap of the women's race to maybe the third, it was about a 30-second difference. So I think the first lap started off much slower than, and then the pace picked up significantly. A 30-second difference in a lap is pretty notable.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, one time, I can't remember if it was that lap or not, but I remember at one time waiting, we thought there was a crash or something, it took so long. And then, of course, then they came around the corner. But yeah, so definitely the speed is definitely fluctuating a lot. With all these attacks and surges, yeah, it's going to slow down sometime. All right, this side is the more protected side here. Another great effort here. These are some hard efforts. A lot of watts being put down.
We had no idea that Marlena did this much work, because every time she came around, it was kind of tucked in.
Yeah, she had talked to me about it, saying that she had done a lot of work, but of course we couldn't see this backside. And every time she came around the front, she was like 6th position, 8th position. I was like, no, you're fine. Which this is fine. This is racing your bike. You got 2 strong women off the front. It's dangerous. You don't want them getting away. So you definitely got to either go with them or shut it down. So they're all kind of relaxed now, just kind of cruising.
Their hair blowing in the wind.
Yeah, I think Marlena was pretty smart though this race, because the majority of the time on this straight she's on the right hand side, and that protects you from the wind just that little bit. Sometimes I can't help it. I gotta say something. Those lines can be way better. It's like I'm addicted. It's like my drug. I gotta say something. Even when you're going at this speed and no one's going hard or anything like that, it's still just faster, more efficient to still keep good lines, better, efficient lines.
There goes Anastasia picking up the pace, slowed down a little bit.
Yeah, and rightfully so. You don't want it bunching up too much. You can tell this is the race has taken a toll on people. Everyone's taking this time to get a drink. Feline took one earlier, saw India taking one there, and you can just tell body language wise, yeah, it's been pretty tough. I think we're definitely down to about 6 laps to go now. We'll test our eyesight in a second, see if we can see the lap board or the minutes.
Pretty sure we can't.
Yeah. Exactly.
The announcers gave a nice little shout out to the team and kind of had looked up what the mission is of kind of teamwork, and I should know exactly what it says, but I cannot recall.
I don't know exactly what it says, but yeah, they did. They, gave a shout out to us and a couple other teams as well, but they gave a shout out to us. And yeah, just emphasize that that's our mission, is to race as a team. And overall, we want to start taking riders from the classroom to the finish line. And that just means, educating people, starting them off in kind of progression, not just throwing them out there and saying, hey, go race. You got a bike, just race. I think that's one of the reasons why we think it's dangerous. And, people blame people all the time. But really, what do you expect if someone's new to racing and no one taught them anything? Yeah, it's not even possible for them to come out on their first race and make good decisions, because there's not an education process. So that's our goal. That's why we have the whiteboard session sometimes. I do bring them to the races, and I have it at the races more. But yeah, if you want to hear my 2 cents, and honestly, it's not just my 2 cents. I'm not just making these things up. I've been in either the bike racing or motorcycle racing and different types of things, coaching football, all kinds of stuff for a long time. So a coach is kind of like, that's just kind of part of my character. So yeah, that's our mission, is we want to start educating people before they even start racing. And then of course, if you're already racing, then yeah, we'll try to do that as well. So for my team, we want to be smart, we want to be educated, and we want to race as a team, which means you have to sacrifice sometimes. Sometimes you may not even finish the race, but if you do your job and help your team, that's what it is.
And right here, I know I'm going to be a little delayed in speaking, but right before the finish line, Feline did a little attack, and Paige jumped on it immediately. And so there was really no gap. And then when Paige kind of countered and she did the little motion on her butt, like for Feline or whoever to jump on it, there was just a little bit of a delay, and a little gap opens up. And this is something I for sure struggle with, is just the delayed reaction. And then, I've seen Marlena do it, a few other women in this race. I know I've done it. Then there's a really hard effort to try to close that gap. But if you just do a little bit harder, quicker effort, you're on that wheel. And I just noticed it right there. It's easy to see and hard to execute.
Yeah, I think it was two-part actually, because Feline had just done the hard effort leading up to the finish line. When Paige went by her, and yes, she tapped her butt for Feline to follow, but the problem is Feline was the one that just did the effort before that. So she didn't really have that little pop to get right back on Paige's wheel. So I think if Marlena would have went with her, that would have been a little bit better. But to expect Feline to contest the cream and then also jump on Paige to follow her wheel, that's a little bit much if you don't know the person and trust them. Because Feline's point of view, it looks like, I don't want to cover that move. But from Paige's point of view, it was like, hey, let's go. We got a gap. Let's keep going. And I'm sure, because I heard Paige tell Morgan later, when Morgan had went for a cream, like to just sit on her wheel for a second and she could recover. But you have to trust people, and you have to know that they're going to allow you to recover, and they're going to pull for a second before you have to rotate through. So other than that big effort earlier, you see we haven't said Colleen's name too much. And I think this is something that a lot of people overlook. People know how strong like Colleen is and other racers that win races a lot. But, often when you're a sprinter, you don't really want to be heard of or talked about throughout the entire race. You don't want to be seen that much. That typically means you're putting in too much work. And it kind of goes both ways. So to beat someone like Colleen, you either have to be making the race like extremely hard and long for everyone, including yourself, if you have that ability, which obviously not that many people have that ability. Excuse me. Not that many people have that ability to make the race hard enough for Colleen and still be able to beat her, because it's not like she's out of shape or anything, or it's not like she's a weaker rider. Just sprinting is her kind of forte. But you either have to make the race extremely hard and kind of beat up her legs a little bit, or you definitely have to be sitting in, saving your legs to hopefully be able to outsprint her, get a jump on her or something of that nature, which again, that plays into her wheelhouse as well. And she probably invites that. Um, and I've seen her win races from small breakaways and stuff as well. So yeah, she's just a talented rider and she's hard to beat. So yeah, but for most people, they're not going to outsprint her at the end. So you kind of have a better chance of making the race like extremely hard. And again, that has to play into your physiology as well. Um, it's easy to talk about. It's definitely very hard to do.
And that is where having a team really benefits for, you to kind of work together instead of, if there's just multiple riders out here kind of riding solo, it's really hard to, to kind of make the race really hard and be in a position to win because, it's very hard. You're never going to go faster by yourself than the peloton is going to go.
If they're motivated.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I said, Anya and Ari have been having good finishes, but it's the same thing. You haven't heard us really say their name too much as far as making moves, covering moves, all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, they're definitely, I shouldn't say definitely, but there's a good chance they're going to be fresher than a lot of the people that have been really active in this race at the end.
Because they're, so small, they're so good at just sucking a wheel. They've been practicing for years of hanging on to their parents' wheels, adult riders.
Yeah, and a windy day like this, if you can tuck in, yeah, that's pretty significant. You know, you're gonna have some very good savings, watt savings, being tucked in behind these larger riders. You see Morgan's back in the game now. She was active early, and now she's back up here again. I was surprised, too, with all these attacks. I don't think anyone got dropped from the race. So, I know Emmy dropped out at one point, but I don't think it was I didn't see it, but I don't think it was because she was dropped. It looks like she maybe had a mechanical or something. I'm not sure. But I never saw any rider, like, off the back struggling to hold on. I think we might be going into about 2 laps to go. Did look like there was a 2 or a 3 over there. I hate to say it. A lot of people talked about it on the day, though. But, yeah, it's unfortunate. I think if we can, maybe we should ask. But we maybe should have the men's race last again. Because, sometimes it's not fair to the women that a lot of tents are being taken down, the fencing's being taken down, everything's being taken down while they're racing, and it just gives a different look. And honestly, we should support everyone's race until it's over, until the event is over. So I know people want to get out of there early and stuff like that, but it's not really a good look when, we have our pro women out there racing and people are packing up to leave. I know that's a sore subject. I'm not trying to cause any controversy or anything, but it's kind of what the sentiment was. And it's not just from me. It's from a bunch of people that stuck around, and everybody was kind of commenting on it. Why are they taking down the fences? Why, why is this going away? So, yeah, and honestly, it looks different. If you look at, like, my race when everything was up, it looks kind of different when you go past the start-finish line. So anyway, that's all I'm going to say on that. And, yeah, get back to some racing. So I think we're going to be going into 2 laps to go. I don't know if that was a 2 or a 3, but I think it's going to be 2 laps to go once they cross the finish line now. And it actually may be 1 to go after they cross the finish line. We'll see if they're shaking the bell or not.
In my head, this is the lap where you tell, I think Marlena, like, just don't go backwards now.
No, I think we're well past that.
Really?
Yeah, I think so. I think this is going into the last lap. Yeah, I believe this is probably going into the last lap because we're at about 2 minutes a lap, and looks like there's only about 3 minutes left in this video, so there's definitely not enough time for 2 laps. So yeah, I'm guessing this is going to be the last lap here. I'm sorry, going into the last lap. Someone should be shaking the bell on the left-hand side. If we may not see him since Marlena's over here on the right, just staying out of the wind. Good job of moving up here, being protected, didn't use too many watts. And yes, he's shaking the bell, so this is the last lap here. So definitely good position here for Marlena. I know it's a little tight right here, but she ends up having room, so that's all good. Anastasio's on the front, just trying to set the pace a little bit. I think Marlena's trying to kind of drop in position in case Anastasio's going to do a lead out here. But she drops back a little bit here, so Marlena kind of stays where she's at. She's in good position. I think, yeah, I'd like her to be just slightly over to the left a little bit. Not too far back, though. You can obviously see multiple lines through that turn. I think people are just a little desperate, so it's like, I shouldn't say desperate, but urgent. People have a little bit of urgency, so they're kind of spread out, thinking that there's not a lot of time. But again, crosswind, big lap, uphill finish. You have more time than you think.
And I'm nervous to watch from this angle.
Yeah, it's funny when you haven't seen what happens, right?
Oh.
Yeah, so I think Marlena's still in pretty good position, even though she wasn't protected there, but the speed's kind of down. And unfortunately, that favors the sprinter, which obviously we got the yellow jersey up there. We need to be taxing those legs right now and making it hard. So I think here is where Marlena kind of could have just maybe held that position a little bit better there, because right here she gets swarmed a little bit on both sides. Georgetta comes up. Anya comes up on the inside. So she gets shuffled back from about 5th position now to about 9th position, 10th position here. Decent launch there, but I think the girls just got to jump on her. You see Alexa in the middle there fighting, but she's kind of getting overtaken a little bit here. And Marlena's doing a great job of making up like a lot of ground here, and she's on the protected side. And then there's the line there. So good job by the ladies. I think Alexa got 7th, Marlena 9th, and I think Anastasia was 13th. So yeah, thanks for watching, and we'll see you at the next one.